All right, y'all. This is it's not nothing. It's not another pick or nothing like that. But this is a little something, a little food for thought. That I would call this, and something to really think about when evaluating some of these guys in the draft. Something just something to think about that you know when you see these guys being drafted to whatever team they're being drafted to in a position. Um, I hear a lot of people say, or I've heard a lot of people say that they would take Marcus Mariota over Jameis Winston, um, and that he'll be a better pro quarterback, so on and so forth. Um, to just kind of give you guys a clear understanding as to why that's I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true. Let me break it down like this. Marcus Mariota played in a spread offense, read option or spread option type of offense. And yes, I will not deny he is a better athlete than Jameis Winston. However, athleticism does not always amount to a hill of beans, because everybody in the NFL has superior talent, has superior athleticism. So sometimes it'll work when guys doesn't when they don't know what to expect from you. When you look at a lot of these draft magazines, a lot of analysts, they compare Mariota to guys like RG3. That's the main comparison that people give. So, with that being said, I'm not saying, excuse me, I'm not saying that RG3 is a bum. However, RG3 has played 3 years in the NFL, and only 1 year of those three has been successful. Two have not been successful. I would much rather have a guy that, even though he may throw an interception here and there, we're always in the game. If you look at Jameis Winston, yes, I know that he threw more interceptions than Marcus Mariota this past year. However, every last one of those games, they were in those games. When the game was on the line, he led his team to touchdowns, field goals, whatever he needed to do, he was able to do that. Marcus Mariota, to me, when you're drafting a quarterback in round one, he has to be emphatically a leader of men. He has to be able to look his guys in the eye, make them accountable for whatever mistakes they make. You know what I mean? And he needs to be able to lead. You don't see that with him. You just see this guy that, that's just, that's a teammate. He's not the kind of guy. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't lead his guys, but just to get to the X's and the O's of Marcus Mariota compared to Winston, Marcus Mariota, they may have a play drawn out, right, where it's a bubble screen. A bubble screen is when you have two or more receivers to one side of the field, whether it be the left or right, and you throw the ball to that particular receiver, and he got maybe two or three guys blocking for him. Advantage most of the time to the offense. Jameis Winston, I'm not saying that they don't do it, but that's not how their offense is built. Jameis Winston comes from a pro-style offense at Florida State, whereas Marcus Mariota, he comes from an offense that, is designed to wear you out. They're going to run so many plays so often because they're running no huddle the whole game. You're not going to do that in the NFL. In the NFL, the referees will slow it down. They will find a way to slow it down. A lot of times, a new thing that guys do in the NFL, they'll fake a defensive guy fake an injury, so that way, they'll call a TV timeout because you can't determine if a guy. There's no way a referee can determine. Oh, you hurt your hamstring. There's no X-ray for that. You can't go to the locker room and get an X-ray to see if your hamstring is hurt or not. Or you can't determine whether somebody sprained their toe or their finger or not. You can't see that. So in the NFL, they will find a way to slow him down. That is a strategy to slow you down. So Jameis Winston, on the other hand, they run a pro style offense. They'll line up in I formation. They'll line up in shotgun. They'll line up in a pro set. You know what I mean? 3 wides, trips. They'll come out with in a four receiver set. You know what I mean? They're going to give you. When you look at Jameis Winston, this is why like a lot of the main experts are projecting Jameis Winston to be the #1 pick over him, because he projects to the NFL a lot better than Mariota. You don't have to invite Jameis Winston to your team and go over X's and O's as you do with Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota, if you pay attention to like NFL Network and ESPN, he's visiting a lot more teams than Jameis Winston. And when he's and also teams are coming to work him out. They're sending him their playbook because they want to make sure that he could run a pro style offense. The man he never really got under center. Who do you know on 3rd and 1 lines up in shotgun? Who do you know does that? That's not something you're going to see in the NFL. No team in the NFL is going to take 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 line up in shotgun. Everyone in the NFL, they're going to get up under the center, hand the ball off, or QB sneak it, or play action. But he's not used to that. He's always been in shotgun. That stuff does not work in the NFL. All you have to do, at one point in time, the main conference in college football that was running these spread offenses was the Big 12. The Big 12 consisted of teams like Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor. I don't know them all, but the majority of those teams. All you got to do, look in the NFL right now and find a quarterback from that conference that's having success right now in the NFL. You won't find one. You will not find one, because it does not project well to the NFL. In the NFL, and majority of the time in Oregon, they always had 3 or more receivers on the field. In the NFL, that's not going to always happen. That'll happen when you're trying to move the ball down the field, you know what I'm saying, real fast. No, not too many teams in the NFL, or not hardly anybody, is coming out with 3 and 4 wide receiver sets every single snap. That's not going to work in the NFL. So I believe Marcus Mariota, in my honest opinion, evaluating him, his true success can only come if he goes to a team that's willing to change their offense and run some of the stuff, sprinkle in, or either run thoroughly the kind of offense that he ran at Oregon. I'm not saying that he would be bad. I just believe that when you're looking at the #1 pick, Jameis Winston to me is that guy. Jameis, even though he threw a lot of interceptions, I could live with that, because at least I know that those interceptions don't get you down. If you look at some quarterbacks in the NFL right now, professional quarterbacks, when they throw an interception, this is what some of them do. You never see that with Jameis Winston. Whether he throw an interception and it's his fault, he own up to it, and he'll come to his guys on the side like, "Hey, look, we going back out there, and if the defense get us the ball, whether they get us the ball back or not, when we get the ball, we going now and we gonna score." He tell his guys that. And that's what you want. You want a guy that no matter the situation, no matter what, is never too big for him, and he's always going to lead your team. You always got a chance. And that's one of the things I see with him. When you go back and look at the national championship game against Ohio State, when Ohio State started hitting Marcus Mariota, man, his eyes was all over the field. His eyes, and for so much of that game, Marcus Mariota was under duress. He was under pressure the whole game. And if he wasn't under pressure, they had a spy on him. That's what's going to happen. And a lot of teams are going to look at that in the NFL. The NFL is a copycat league. They're going to see what your weaknesses are, or they're going to look at film and find out what you don't like to do or what you struggle with doing, and they're going to force you into that. You got some guys, some defensive coaches out here that will sit up night and day because this is what they're being paid to do. They're being paid millions of dollars to do this. And when they figure out what your weaknesses are, that's it. That's it. Everybody realizes with RG3, he holds the ball a long time. Also with RG3, he's never been able. He was never in a pro style offense. So RG3, if you look at him, whenever he drop back to throw the ball, if the first read ain't open, it's kind of hard for him to go through read after read after read after read, which means he's doing this. If you're doing that, if you're holding the ball for a long time, you're going to get smacked. In the NFL, too, there are no rules to protect a quarterback once you get outside the pocket. The pocket is from left tackle to right tackle. Once you get outside of that and you have the ball, there's no rules to protect you. I can remember a few years ago, Green Bay opened up against the 49ers. And Clay Matthews, he blasted Colin Kaepernick on the sideline. He got flagged. But after he got blasted, they didn't run no more read option. The rest of the game, you saw Jim Harbaugh, he called a timeout. He gathered Colin Kaepernick and the offensive coordinator, and you could clearly see him talking to him, making sure that all his bells and whistles were intact. Because he know without him, they're not going nowhere. So, yeah, Marcus Mariota, he runs 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. He runs super fast. He's a super talented guy. But if you go look at that Ohio State game when they lost, he got hit one good time coming out of the pocket. The guy landed on his shoulder, and he got up and he checked himself out of the game for a while, and he came back. But by then the game was over. So I say all that to say this: Jameis Winston, in my opinion, projects better to the NFL because he's already used to running a pro-style offense, and on top of that, it's nothing about the game of football that's too big for him. So just keep that in mind when you're checking these guys out, comparing these guys. I know that a lot of people don't think that Winston is better because Mariota, he amazes people with his athleticism. But trust me, Marcus Mariota, in my opinion, I don't believe he's a first-round pick because I don't believe in these guys that come from these particular type of offenses. That's just me. Peace.